so it's not impossible to get your hands on. So I'd actually recommend it. Now I suppose it's finally time for me to get on with talking about some other games. You know, games that aren't part of the Bomberman series. Wow, what the hell? What was that? Oh god. No. No, I don't want to play this. I don't want to play this game. Where did this even come from? Seriously, where did this game even fall from? No, hey, do not fade to be continued. No, I'm not playing this. Stop it. Stop it right now. Stop. God damn it. In 2006, they made Bomberman X-Zero. It's not very good. Let's take a look at it. Oh no. Bomberman? Is that you? What have they done to you? This game was meant to be a reboot of sorts to the Bomberman franchise. They made it more realistic, more adult. Not really sure why though, the series was fine as it was, but fine, you know, whatever. Rebooting a classic cartoony video game series and making it more adult and edgy, specifically on the Xbox 360, worked out so well for Sonic the Hedgehog that I'm sure it's going to work out here as well. And in case you couldn't tell, I'm being sarcastic. You know, sarcasm is the lowest form of comedy. No, that would be mime. And get the hell out of here. No way, Jose. I have to stay and defend this game's honor. Anyone with half a brain can tell that this game sucks. Why do you like this? That's none of your concern. Well, it kind of is. You refuse to leave. But fine, whatever. Stick around and I can explain to you exactly why this game never should have been made. Let's start with a quick plot summary. Or at least what I can decipher about the plot. Other than a couple of short cutscenes showing a large factory setting building these robot people, there's no real story cutscene. There's just this long, boring text scroll and then what's written in the instruction manual. So basically, World War III happened and the world went to crap. Each nation came to possess lethal weapons of massacre. So a giant underground factory was built, and it basically just builds these bombermen and bomber women. The ultimate human weapon! They were built to fight in the war, I guess, but instead of actually doing that, or doing anything that makes any semblance of sense at all, they are built with no memories at all or any ideas of why they're even here. They're just built and then they're literally told to fight each other to the death. Only one can survive. Each subject must eliminate all others or be disposed of. What sense does that make? I guess giving them practice? To make sure that only the best one goes up to fight in the war? I guess that kinda makes sense, but you know what, no. I mean, there's strength in numbers. If you're building thousands of these things, then just let them go. I'm sure they'll be fine. Oh, and also, it's been 300 years since the factory was first built. The human who built the factory is long dead, and the war is probably over. And they're still down here fighting each other. Okay. You know what? Whatever. Why am I even trying to make sense of this? Let's just talk about the game itself. So the game... oh god, it's really ugly. I usually try not to just talk about graphics right off the bat, but I feel like I'm going to be constantly revisiting this topic many times, so I might as well comment on it now. What's the problem? What's the problem? Look at this crap. What? So they updated the graphics a bit? Big whoop. No, updating graphics is one thing. This is not an update. This is just a desecration of a franchise. Nothing about the visuals in this game tell me that it's Bomberman. The characters don't look right, the environment doesn't look right, the bombs don't even look like bombs, they're just these glowing balls of energy. But even taking aside the fact that this doesn't remind me at all of the series that it belongs to, the graphics still aren't very good. They're uninspired, flat, murky, boring to look at, generic, they're just not good graphics. And the music also reflects that. It's just generic and forgettable. As for the game, you have two game modes to choose from. Classic mode, which is, well, it's classic style Bomberman, and FPB mode, or first person battle mode, which is actually a third person mode, but you know, whatever. We can't expect a company that makes video games for a living to know that. The gameplay is, as you might have guessed, as generic as can be. It's just basic Bomberman. There's nothing really new to see here. Except for the first-person mode, actually, which at first seems like kind of a neat idea. The camera zoomed into your character and you can rotate it around you. It kind of gives the familiar format a fresh coat of paint, and it seems kind of cool. That is, until you realize that it's just worse than classic style. You can't see the entire stage from this view, so planning out how to kill your enemy and hell, just even how to get to them is pretty hard. An overhead view, like in all of the other games, just works better for this gameplay. Add in the fact that the power-ups, explosions, the bombs themselves, they all look very graphically bland and uninspired, especially at this angle. They tend to blend together. I often mistake bombs for power-ups. So the other mode, being just classic regular mode, is still not very fun, but, you know, it's better. Oh, well, come on, now you're not even being fair. Bomberman is always more fun when you play it in multiplayer, so stop playing the single-player mode. Well, sorry, I can't access the multiplayer mode, so all I have to play is the single player. Oh, what's wrong, noob? You don't have any friends to play the game with? I feel like you may be projecting a little bit. And also, it's not my fault that there's no local multiplayer. Well, why would you possibly need local multiplayer when you can just play it on the internet? Just play it on Xbox Live. Okay, 1, I don't currently have my Xbox 360 hooked up to the internet. 2, I doubt anybody would be online right now playing this piece of crap. And 3, it still wouldn't be much better. Playing online with real people might be slightly better than against computers, but multiplayer Bomberman is always the most fun when you play it with other people in the same room as you. I know that may be becoming a foreign concept to kids nowadays, but it's true. When you're actually with people, it has a certain charm. So what else can I say? Well, for one, these 2 single-player modes do actually have an ending. It may at first seem like it's just a series of battles against computer characters that just keep going and going until you die, but don't be ridiculous. This game's single-player mode is far better than that. It keeps going and going and going and going until you beat level 99, and then you've won. There are 99 levels, or floors, that you have to play through in order to get to the surface and escape. Good luck with that. This game has no save feature, so if your character dies a single time, then it's back to floor 1. Talk about tedious, I mean, oh my god. And with a loading screen and a short cutscene before every floor, it's going to take you even longer to win this thing. It adds up. And when you're forced to basically play the same level over and over and over again, albeit with ramping difficulty, you really start to realize how boring it is. Don't get me wrong, it's a great gameplay formula, Bomberman rules, but when I'm expected to play it for hours and hours on end, constantly, without dying once, and with graphics this boring, it's just, yeah, it's really boring and tedious, and I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here. It sucks. And to be fair, other Bomberman games kept the formula fresh, not only with graphics that were pleasant to look at, but with fun power-ups like Louie and sometimes environmental hazards in the levels. I don't think it's a big shock to say that the adorable and lovable Louie does not make an appearance in this game. And while I did not play far enough to be absolutely sure, I highly doubt that the levels ever change or introduce fun obstacles or hazards. It's just the same crappy level over and over, and while there are power-ups, there are sadly less than usual. And aside from the basic ones, I actually only ever collected 1 power-up after playing for over an hour. I guess that the other power-ups don't really start appearing until the later levels, but I can't even make it past 10. I just get so bored, I get so disinterested. I literally can't focus on the game enough to get far in it. It's just, it's so boring. No matter which mode you play in, the single player's not very good, but there is one main difference. The standard mode is better in pretty much every way, except that you actually have a health bar in the first person mode, not the classic mode. And because this game is about getting through 99 levels without dying a single time, the one-hit deaths are kind of annoying. So pick your poison. Gameplay that's more fun, but it's harder to win, or gameplay that's worse, and it's still pretty impossible to win. Why am I even trying? Survive this endless battle. I like how even the game seems to be acknowledging the repetitiveness of this bore fest. I think I might be done. I mean, I don't know what else to say. This is a bad game. Yeah. Yeah, it is. No! Stop berating this all-time classic. This game is a treasure. What the hell are you talking about? This game sucks. It absolutely sucks. It spits on every previous Bomberman game. This game's a reboot of the franchise, so it's okay for it to be different. But this looks nothing like Bomberman. So what? Are you saying that change is a bad thing? No. Change can be good. Updating a formula can be good. Updating the visuals in a game can be good. But all of these things can also be very bad. When they completely turn their back on what made the original great, when they change it too much, or when the changes just plain suck. This game fails on all three accounts. The gameplay changes that they made sucked, they got rid of local multiplayer, and the game just looks way too different. Hell, I bet that most people that see this game don't even think that it's an actual Bomberman game. That maybe it just has the same name, but it's of a different franchise. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But no, this is made by Hudson. It's meant to be a reboot of the beloved franchise that many hold near and dear. Well, I guess the series was dying. I mean, maybe the games weren't selling very well anymore, so they figured they had to make some changes, and so they rebooted it. Even if the Bomberman series was going downhill, which I'm not convinced at all that it was, this was not the way to revitalize it. Now let's see what would have been a good 360 game. Bomberman Battle. It's great. It took the classic Bomberman formula and it put a fresh coat of paint on it. Sure, it didn't have a single-player story mode, but it did have online and local multiplayer. It added in some power-ups and a bunch of customization options. Well, this game has customization too. Well, GM, you got me there. Well, the game looks pretty cool. It's dark and realistic, and it's the first Bomberman game in HD. They had to take advantage of that. Yeah, but they didn't take advantage of it. At first glance, you could mistake this for an original Xbox game, not a 360 one. It's ugly, generic textures, ugly models, bad design. It's a hideous game. And also, why would it have to look darker and more realistic just to look good in high definition? Well, they had to appeal to and target an older crowd, so they made the game look cooler and darker. Why? I mean, sure, we don't live in Neverland, we're all eventually gonna grow up, but that doesn't mean that they're ever gonna run out of children to play their games. And aside from that, the older style appealed to people of all ages. Sure, there's always going to be insecure people that don't want to be caught playing a cartoony, childish game like this, but all in all, bright and colorful games are just pleasant to look at. They catch the eye and they hold people's attention. By making a game like this, all you're really doing is alienating the younger crowd, and then failing to pull in the older crowd since your game just blends in. It's not unique anymore. It's just ugly. Well, they improved the gameplay? No, they didn't. Haven't you been listening to a single word that I've been saying? Don't answer that! The only thing that they added in this game was the first-person mode, which is bad. As I've already stated, the overhead view is just better. From a gameplay standpoint, it is objectively better. The game just plain sucks. It has a super lame story that barely even matters, horrible presentation, basic and boring gameplay, and they don't even know what first person means. A reboot is one thing, but when you've gone from this to this, then you know you've done something wrong. Alright, fine, it sucks. Of course it sucks. This game is terrible. Why have you been arguing with me this entire time then? Well, I was just lying to myself. I was just trying to make myself feel better because I spent $60 on this thing when it first came out. Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. It must be hard. Oh, well, thanks, man. It was. I mean, I really thought this game could be really good, but when I first played it, it was so... No, I mean, it must be so hard being this stupid. So stupid that when you first saw the cover to this game, you still decided to buy it. I mean, I couldn't possibly imagine being that stupid myself. I probably wouldn't even be able to get through the day. I mean, I'd probably go downstairs and try to make myself some breakfast, but I'd just keep missing the bowl when I'm pouring my milk. Yeah, so very stupid you are. So to wrap things up, you're incredibly stupid. I hate you. You suck. Get lost. And I am so very, very sorry. I hate you so much. Well, I guess that wraps that up. We're finally done with the Bomberman marathon, if that's what you want to call it. So next time we'll be moving on to something else. Are you done the Bomberman review yet? Well, when I heard you were playing Bomberman 64, I went out and got a prop. Figured you could use a funny Bomberman-styled prop to use, for a skit or something. Why did you light the fuse? I don't know. It seemed like a good idea at the time?